artificial intelligence gaining tremendous momentum, a development has caused some experts, like Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak, warned that AI development should at least be paused. We're going to explore that today with Tom Riley, a retired NASA instrument engineer and prolific author who believes AI offers tremendous potential for the world. Stay with us.
Welcome to Lean to the Left, home of no-holds-barred commentary, plus interviews with fascinating people. Some of them top experts, others simply with interesting stories to tell. You'll never know who'll show up at Lean to the Left. Now here's your host, Bob Gaddy.
In an open letter, more than 1,000 tech experts called for AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months. The signatories include Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak and Elon Musk, among a who's who of brainiacs who worry that the world is in an out-of-control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or reliably control. The letter came from the Future of Life Institute, a nonprofit determined to steer us away from extreme, large-scale risk. One researcher, Eliezer Yudkowsky, who has been warning about AI for 2 decades, says we should shut it all down. Stephen Hawking, the English theoretical physicist and author who died in 2018, put it even more directly, saying, "The development of artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race." Now that sounds pretty serious. It sounds like there's more to worry about than whether students are cheating on their term papers by using an AI app to write those papers for them. Our guest today, Tom Riley, who's worked on instruments for the Space Shuttle and NASA satellites, is going to help put all that into perspective. Welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thank you. The key to the whole thing is a tipping point. And what you need to understand is that society has lots of tipping points. And one of the last ones you can remember is the introduction of the computer phone, the smartphone, which was introduced in 2009 by old Steve Jobs, who said he was changing the world. He did.
Yep.
All right. And it took a couple of years, but now you could not do business on this planet without a proper cell phone.
Yeah.
And the odd thing was that all the low-income people now absolutely have to have a cell phone for their event interaction. So it changed the world, and there is no going back.
Now, in a note to me, Tom, you said that AI was like dancing on a landslide. I really like that quote.
Right.
Do these warnings that I just mentioned concern you? Should the rest of us be concerned about the implications of AI?
Yes, it's a big deal.
Uh-huh.
And we crossed that tipping point, and there is no going back. You can stall it for 6 months. That's okay, because the next big iteration isn't due out for a year. You can have a nice meeting in which we will develop the ethics for AIs, and we will require all future AIs to be programmed with these ethics. And then 10 seconds after they got on, a user could get on and unprogram the ethics.
Yeah.
Still, we need to program the ethics. We can't have these guys run around unethical. Right now, you can get good old Chat GPT-4 free test and treat it like it was a member of your team. If you're a management person, then you're going to have your people. You now have an AI that's your people. And if you treat it nicely, it will increase the productivity of your other people by at least 40%. And we're looking for a big up next year to make it 70%. So is it a big deal? It's going to change the world, and it will change the world every bit as much as the smartphone did, but faster. And it could be good. It could be bad. That's up to us.
Yeah.
All right. But right now, some people will learn how to use this thing well. It's a powerful tool. Then they will keep their job. Some people will not and be in denial, and they will not learn to use it, and they're going to be out of work. And that's going to be a big disruption to society.
When you say use it, in what way? What do you mean?
For example, it took me a little over a year to research and write this book.
Okay.
I'm now studying the AI version. It uses specific structures. I ordered books for the structure. Once I learn them, I have every reason to believe I could write a better version of this book in 1 month, including all the editing, which I paid thousands of dollars for.
Okay.
And that's scary. If you're not afraid of this nonsense, you are not paying attention. And that would put a lot of people out of work. People who do it poorly are going to turn out really unimaginative nonsense. People who do it well are going to add their creativity on top of the absolute great work the AI will do for them. And they will be 40, 70% ahead of anybody else. And not only does it write everything you ever have to written, it's a language, they're large language devices, so they do language best. But it'll help you manage, it will help you plan. The things it doesn't do, like it's not a great mathematician, it's a language model. Of course, it's not a great mathematician. Oh, I got to sign up and give it a tool to do math. That's not even difficult. So not only are these things great with words, they also have a wide variety of tools that allow them to cover their weak spot.
Can you say that again, the wide variety? I just
All right. For example, if it's a word thing, it's not going to be very good at mathematics, is it? That's not reasonable. It'll do a little math because words are mathy. Oh, but I want to do a lot of math. In fact, in my business, I use spreadsheets all over the place. Does it do spreadsheets? Weak. However, I can purchase a button to put in my spreadsheet that lets me connect to it. Now, all of a sudden, I'm having this great discussion with my team member, and it has complete access to Excel and can do all the math and draw all the pictures that I need for my business.
Tom, what you're telling me is that we're going to end up with a bunch of AI experts who are going to be out there helping people like me, for example, I'm not all that technically of a technical expert, out there helping people like me use it. So that's a new job opportunity. Is that not true?
It's a new job opportunity for those who learn to use the AI.
Sure.
You're out of a job for those who don't. And take example where our schools sit. Historically, these are called chatbots, is the general term. They were used to cheat on writing essays and so forth. So now they're a big cheat thing in school. All of a sudden, as of March 15th, your ability to do a job will be dependent on how well you can handle it. Those people who were cheating got the skills. Those people who were towing the line don't.
Okay.
And that's the type of thing that a tipping point just beats you over the head with. So now the cheaters are the winners, and the ethical people are 2 years behind.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a English college professor, and at first he was worrying that this chat, whatever it's called, AI tool, would play hell in his classroom with students using it to write and pretending it was their work. But then he said the other day that he thinks there's opportunity there. What's the opportunity?
The opportunity is, all right, I'm trained as an engineer. I'm not a word person.
Sure.
But as an engineer, I design things, so I have an imaginary way to image things and stories and so forth. But I have trouble getting it into Word.
Okay.
Now, my practice up to and including this book was to then pay a Word person to edit the book, and the cost was around $1,000.
Yeah.
All right. And took several weeks. And I paid it willingly because I'm not a good Word person.
Sure.
I couldn't do anything at all without the Word spell checker and so forth. But even with that, I had to pay an extra $1,000 and take several more weeks to get it to its publishable state.
Sure.
Now I think up the ideas. I explain the ideas in a short paragraph. The first thing I do, I ask for an outline, and it outlines my story after I discuss it for a while, and I check that. Then I go through the elements of the outline, and I say what I want in my imaginative idea in words, and then it writes the scene, not expands the paragraph, writes a scene at a professional level. Very good spelling, very good grammar. And if I say, I think we need this story to be film noir, let's make it dark things, blah, 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 blah. All I have to do is tell it, and it rewrites it film noir.
Is this an audio exchange that you're doing, or what?
It's a large language system. You are writing words. You have a little paragraph place on the screen. I like to write in Word, then cut and paste. That leaves me a record that I control.
Sure.
Right now, we're just in testing mode, so it sees everything.
Okay.
And maybe I don't want that.
Okay.
But I write it out, check it, got it nice, the way I want it, put it in the prompt. It's called engineering prompt. And then I hit the go button. It's so fast, I don't even have time to get a cup of coffee.
Holy cow.
It's crazy fast. I don't understand why it needs to be that fast. I can't get up and get a coffee.
Okay.
And if I don't like it, which I never liked the first draft, I say, blah, 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 blah. And this character's weak. If we have a strength in this character right here, I don't have to repeat everything. It remembers the whole conversation from when I started to find this conversation. And then it rewrites it with my suggestion. And if I'm good, the suggestions will be good, the quality will be good. Now, you might say, can't they tell it's written by an AI? Unless you tell the AI to write it like a human being. And there are prompts specifically for that. And if you tell it to write it like a human being, it will be undetectably human being.
Right. Now, is this that you're telling this thing? I sound so stupid. When you're telling this, you're doing this in an audio way. You're recording this, or you're typing.
Right now, the main ones are Word. If
so you're
you
typing
want to,
it.
Yeah, you're typing it. If it's a large language device.
Okay.
If you want, I want to talk to it. You have to go add the app for talk. I want to do heavy mathematics. Let's add a math. I made a living doing mathematics for 39 years.
Okay.
All I have to do is add Wolfram Alpha, and now all of a sudden, it's a better mathematician than I ever was in my entire life. And that's scary.
That's what I did. Because you know what? When I went to college, I was asked, it was Point Park College in Pittsburgh, which at that time was a 2-year college. And I was asked by the admissions people, what did I want to major in? And I said, anything but math and science. And they said, well, you got great grades in English and writing, and you ran a radio station, a radio program, and you did all this, a magazine and everything. So why don't you become a journalist? And I said, okay, sounds good. And so I became a journalist. That's how it happened. Because I hate math, and I'm not real good at science. So there you go. Go ahead. So I should have had this AI thing back then, and I'd been good.
That's what I'm saying. We have crossed a tipping point.
Yeah.
You could call it a Rubicon.
Okay.
There's no going back. There is no more going back on this one after 2 weeks than there would be about going back on cell phones after 10 years.
All right. Now, there's been a lot of stuff about when these pictures of Trump being arrested that were fake. They were AI generated, but they received thousands of hits on social media. A lot of people thought they were real and so on. That's a problem, right? How it can be abused.
Like I say, they want to stop the development for 6 months and write the ethics.
Uh-huh.
And the ethics would say you can't present that as real. You have to present it as a reenactment somehow.
Okay.
The problem is, one, at present, there are no ethics. And two, it's not clear that if you put the ethics in and teach it the ethic, that somebody else, for their special consideration, could not nullify the ethic. And we don't know how to put in ethic. We know how to put in ethic. We don't know how to prevent the ethics from being nullified.
Do you think this will be resolved in the future?
No, I think this is just riot time. We are dancing on a sliding sand collapse. And learn to dance, because there ain't nothing else going to happen.
Oh, okay. So there won't be any controls over whether people could use it to...
There will be controls, and it will be an arms race. The responsible people will be putting in the controls and teaching them into the unit, so it's very hard to get them out. And these cheats and the ripoff artists will be figuring out new ways to get them out. All right. It literally was about 15 minutes from the time they developed a new way to check for AI writing, and they had the new command to mess it up.
Okay. Now we've talked a good bit about some of the problems that can occur. What about the good that it can do?
The good that it can do is that people who have ethics and who have some talent can now function as if their talent and skills were increased by 70%. And that means that the productivity of the human race is going up exponentially. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's going to help a lot in many areas.
Now, and you wrote this book, a really good book, A Climate of Revenge. You just showed it a minute ago on screen. For those folks who are listening to this on audio, just check the blog post, the picture of it, of the book cover on the blog post. But at any rate, so you wrote this book that's about the climate crisis. Talk to me a little bit about how AI might be helpful with respect to climate change.
All right. One, how do you get AI to be helpful? You ask AI, how can you be helpful? And it gives you lists and lists of things it can do. It's that easy. You don't have to sit around and think up new ideas. You just ask the AI, And then you go through its list and you say, I want some more. Give me another 10. And it goes through another 10. And you say, number 8 here, let's write that. Let's expand on that. I think I need to write a paper on that. So we expand that one out. There are also many hard problems like the folding of molecules that are just very hard for humans to do. But if you want to, you can put an AI on it and fold up molecules, which means that the ability to make new drugs is speeded up by years. Then there
positive, the ability to make new drugs,
to speed up the drug process.
The process. Right? About the approval process or the process of actually producing the drug?
The early development process is the most powerful.
Okay.
All right. Another thing is, all right, the one I was writing on, most of the books about our climate crisis are doom and gloom that do nobody any good. They are the end of civilization that doesn't help anybody. However, if you went too far the other way and wrote about unicorns and stuff, wouldn't be any good. You need to hit that middle point, and you need to hit it in such a manner that it's a good story. Well, that you can do now and do in a month, not a year.
Talk to me a little bit about your climate crisis stories and what you're doing with that. You've got 2 books about that, right?
Yes, there are 2 books in the series. When I first started writing the book 2 years ago now, it was pretty clear that we needed this middle of the road, this about believable characters in determined action to address real problems. All right. And it was also clear that we needed some interesting situation. So I made one of the characters an artificial intelligence. It's not a robot, just an image on the screen that has smarts. And then you have this big interplay between the human character and the AI character. And in this level AI development, it was proposed that all AIs will be associated with a human being who has responsibility for that AI. And I came up with that 2 years before the situation. I thought it would be a decade before the AI got that development. It was 2 months after I published.
Wow.
So the question, is this a possibility? Can we make it where the AIs are associated with a responsible human being and thereby reduce the danger? It's a proposal. It's a story. It's a couple of stories. Let's think about that. The alternative is they're running wild. That's scary.
Now, you've got some versions of this on YouTube, right?
I have some discussions of various points.
I see.
And for this idea about the AI is not a robot, the AI is an image on the screen, but the AI has the smarts. The human character doesn't necessarily have it, but the human character is responsible. That I have a YouTube discussing that point.
I got it. So people could go on there, though, if they want to learn more. I'll add the links to those clips in the notes with this podcast. It struck me that there might be a movie or a TV series coming out of it.
The book is written to be a TV series, and I've paid a number of television producers to review the book, but it always came out mediocre. One, they're afraid that whether they could get funding for a climate crisis book, story.
Right.
But the other thing is, I'm just not that great a writer, or wasn't. Now I got a writing buddy who writes better than me and writes a lot faster. Now I can rewrite that book in a month. The AIs like a lot of structure. All right. So all I have to do is get some structure. What do they like? They like one called Save the Cat. And they like another one called Snowflake Series. I got my choice. Do I want to save the cat or do I want to snowflake it? The AI will take those as the structure and then guide you through the whole damn plot, which will make it a lot better. The Save the Cat was developed by reviewing every major successful motion picture ever made and defining what are the plot elements, which they call beat. So if you ever hear the plot described as beats, that's Save the Cat. The name comes from a poster of the cat hanging by a rope, and your story is to save that cat.
Yeah. Okay.
So, buy the book, learn the structure. Says, we start with the character. All right. So here are the things. The character has to have flaws. The character has to have needs. The character has to have wants.
Right.
You just discuss these things with the AI until you come up with flaws, wants, and needs that you like.
Okay.
And then you move to the next character, and you get 5 or 6 characters gone. Now I got some story building. Let's outline a plot. All right. Oh, wait a minute. This is a novel. We're going to need more than just a plot. We're going to need a B story. All right. Let's outline the B story. That is to say, secondary plot with extra characters, blah, 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 lengthens it out to tell us the length of a movie. The problem is, isn't that kill your imagination? Structure, of course, restricts imagination. But I don't have to, I'm not writing it anymore. I'm literally the editor.
Okay.
I'm suggesting all these ideas and then, well, what if, boy, I'd like to see these people in my mind. All right. Then I can just ask it to write a description that goes to mid-journey. And it will write out a description of the character for mid-journey. I go over to mid-journey and it draws me a picture of the character. I then can bring it back. And now I'm working with images that I can believe in.
All right. What's mid-journey?
Mid-journey is a graphics version, AI version. You go into mid-journey and it helps you go from written description to a interesting picture.
All right.
And it can be photographic quality if you want it, or it can be imaginative nonsense. The nerds who develop this stuff love the sci-fi stuff. So most of them are just exaggerated sci-fi nonsense. But if you say, this is set in set in the 1930s, make them a photograph, give it the look of the photograph from the 1930s. Give me 4 views. Is it perfect? No. It has a bad habit of putting too many fingers. All right. It has a bit. If you look at those ones you were talking about, that were supposed to be Trump being perk walked. If you go look at each of the individual faces, they're lousy. All right. They're poor, distorted faces. Not his. It'll do one face perfect. And then all the secondary faces look like crap. All right. So the easiest way to check is to go check all the secondary faces. Count the fingers and look at the secondary face.
Okay, that's a good tip. Now, you wrote this book, this climate book. What's the name of it? You showed it a minute ago.
A Climate of Revenge. It's supposed to be a detective novel suitable for television. Therefore, it had to have a detective novel type title.
Okay. All right. And basically, talk to me a little bit about the approach of the book, the plot of the book, the thesis behind the book.
The plot's very straightforward. It's a novel.
Yeah.
If I was doing it, I would definitely do it film noir. But all it says is this young woman who in the first book was driven out of her seaside home by the rising tide and has all kinds of family problems that led her to be a detective. And she is assisted by a AI who only appears as a image on the screen, and the two of them bicker incessantly. And they're approached by this shady character who is then killed. But basically, his wife says there's money in his will for you to find who killed him. And the rest of the book is running around trying to find who killed the.
Okay, I got it. That sounds really cool. Now, you wrote this when?
It was published in August. It was written about a year and a half before.
Okay, so this guy wrote this thing about this AI, with this AI plot dealing with climate change, essentially 2 years ago. And now all this AI stuff is just coming to the fore, right?
I absolutely thought my description of AI was at least a decade in advance.
Yeah, you said that earlier. Yeah.
It was 2 months.
Incredible.
And now I got to redo the whole damn thing.
Okay. So you have been the climate crisis must be of concern to you because you wrote that book about that.
When I retired from NASA, I set up a local group to help tutor students in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Yeah.
It became very fast. It became clear that I had to tell them something about our climate crisis. Okay. Because we were looking at space travel and stuff like that, but it was very clear that it was a complete waste of time for them unless our climate crisis is addressed. And so these two books are me trying to explain to high school level students what their lives might be like, and that it is not gloom and doom, and it is not a walk in the park.
Okay. Do you consider the climate change situation a crisis?
It is definitely a crisis, and it will be, I'm working with high school students, it will be the major defining problem of their lifetime. All right? They have to deal with it. Not their fault. It is their problem for life.
What is their reaction to this when you talk to them about that?
The tricky bit is not scaring them so badly that they go into total denial or poo-pooing it. You'll handle it, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do anything. And leave them wide open to being wiped out by the problems that they don't see. It's a tricky balancing act.
Do you have any thoughts about this generation that you're teaching? And I don't know how to answer this question, positive, negative, in terms of what to expect from this generation going forward?
All right. There are a series of things we can know about the climate crisis.
Yeah.
And most of them are just hard work. We're going to have crisis after crisis in the weather. Fine. Yeah. The population of the Earth will peak with it before 2100, 9 billion or so, then fall to a level that the damaged Earth can sustain, probably about a third. So we're down around 3 billion. That's a very different world in that one item alone. So we got bad weather, falling population. These are things that human beings have not dealt with in 64,000 years.
Now, this falling population, how soon is that going to happen?
The peak should be between 2060 and 2100. It'll be very flat going over the top. So it's very noisy. So it'd be hard to say what happened on this year. But the key thing to watch is how many children do young women have? And if that average drops below 2.1, then the population is falling. If it's above 2.1, the population is growing. The driving force is simply urbanization. Urban women do not have as many children as rural women. That has been true since before the time of the Romans. And if you look at how fast urbanization has come on, that's the driver.
Tom, you and I are both in our senior years. We're both retired. We're not going to be around to see a lot of this impact that we're talking about. But are you optimistic for the generations to follow?
I am optimistic that there will be a society of human beings on Earth. I am optimistic that the population will drop to the sustainable level and that half the Earth will be converted back to wilderness and rewilded, so that, because that's how much territory it takes to stabilize the climate. All right. These are things we can do. And in fact, we are on autopilot. There's absolutely, if you try to mess with them, it's going to be worse than just rolling with the punches. So yes, we are going to have a society. The society will have a lot of high tech. What exactly? Don't know. It's good that I don't know.
How long is all this going to take to happen?
The population won't stabilize for about 500 years, nor will the climate.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about peaking 2060, slowly falling for 50 years, and then an exponential drop at about the same rate was that the exponential rise was from the Industrial Revolution to World War II. So,
okay. All right. Okay, Tom, where can people find out more about you and your work, and where can they get your book?
The book is available on Amazon and a wide variety of other bookstores, electronic bookstores. In the back of the book, cost me some money to have it included. There's a lengthy discussion of what the society and the environment will be like that was used to write the book. And and my email address is given there, and I'd very much like to discuss that with anybody, including AIs.
Okay. You want me to include your email address with this podcast?
You can include the email address, please.
Which is?
Tom Riley at bigmoondig.com.
Big Moon, D-I-G, dig?
Yes, all lowercase.
Okay.
That was the space thing we were doing when I first retired.
All right, and Riley is R-I-L-E-Y.
R-I-L-E-Y, it means strong right arm.
Okay, my friend. All right, anything else you want to talk about?
Just that the climate crisis is real. We needed a societal tipping point to address the problems. We cannot do it without it. Now we got one. It's not exactly what we thought would happen. We've got to use that tipping point to address the climate crisis.
All right. All right, Tom, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I think this topic is extremely important and timely. And I hope you guys check out his book. And so with that, we're going to close it up. Thank you, my friend. Hey, guys, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you'll come back on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that I hope you find interesting, entertaining, and enlightening. Let your friends know about this podcast and take a minute to subscribe. Just go to podcast.leantotheleft.net to subscribe. Check out the upcoming interview schedule and listen to all of our episodes. And follow us on social media. Facebook at the Lean to the Left Podcast, Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at BobGaddy _Lean to the Left, and TikTok at Lean to the Left. And you can watch the episodes at YouTube at Lean to the Left. And don't forget to visit our blog site, leantotheleft.net, where you'll find commentary on the news by some excellent writers with progressive perspectives on a whole range of topics. You can sign up as a member there, and of course, it's all free. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.